Welcome, creators. Sit yourselves down by the crackling hearth fire and open your ears and your minds. I'm Holistic Dungeon Master, and in this video, I share with you an encounter prompt full of mystery and action that will help inspire you to wow your players at your next session. I know that coming up with compelling encounters can be difficult. Sometimes the creativity just isn't flowing. That's why I've created this encounter prompt for you to steal, reskin, or just gain inspiration from so that you can run an awe-inspiring session for your players. This one is called the Emerald Dragon. The air was thick with humidity as the sun beat down through the chinks in the canopy of mangrove trees. The incessant buzzing and biting of mosquitoes and other pestering insects had long since begun to wear on the party's good spirits as they slogged through the greedy and sucking mud of the swamp, each footfall releasing a new expulsion of fetid odors from beneath the sludge.
"Ugh, the 9 circles taped this blasted place,"
growled Thor Blackaxe as he swatted yet another parasite feasting on his dwarven blood. A lively tune was plucked from the strings of Dahlia's lyre by delicate elven fingers, somewhat lifting the spirits of the party.
"We shan't be much longer. That merchant with the strange hands said it shouldn't take us much more than a few hours to find the shard. And it's been but, Den? How long has it been?"
The ranger scowled momentarily, spit upon the thick mud submerging his boots before eyeing the sun, measuring the distance it lay from the horizon with his hands.
"It's been more than a few. It will be near now. Ready yourselves. Who knows what changes it's wrought on the land and its creatures."
In one smooth and well-worn movement, Den unslung his bow and held an arrow nocked before trudging ahead of the others, keeping low and quiet despite the treacle-like mud tugging at every step. The trio were not struggling through the swamp for much longer before arriving at a clearing of sorts, a wide open area free from the tangle of undergrowth and the claustrophobic press of the trees. A faint whisper of fresh and cooler air found its way down through the clearing and relieved some of the smothering grasp of the humid rankness. The muddy sludge of the swamp gave way to a knee-deep pool of black water that ran thick with the oils of the land, and at this pool's center lay the shard. It was just as described by the merchant that hired the party to find it, an enormous chunk of amber, 3 stories tall and half as much as wide, embedded in the waters. As wonderful as the shard itself might have been, it was nowhere near as breathtaking as what lay encased within. An ancient dragon with scales of emerald, shining and glittering with an intense greenness that somehow shone through its amber prison. The dragon appeared frozen in time, its wings wrapped around its body and a thunderous grimace of pure and raw fury forever written on its reptilian face. Its body seemed perfectly preserved, except for the creature's arm and claw that protruded from the shard of amber. The scales and flesh from this exposed limb were no longer, leaving only bleached bone. It seemed that the merchant also told true about what the dragon held in his skeletal claw. An emerald. The size of a cask of whiskey, this well-cut gem sparkled and shone with the same vibrance and hue of the dragon's scales.
"And you didn't want to trust the man, simply because one of his hands was turned the wrong way. That'll show you to temper your prejudices in the future."
Dahlia teased, with a sparkle in her eye and musical notes of mischief in her voice as she elbowed Den in the ribs. She danced away as best as she could in the black water as he shot a long-suffering scowl in her direction.
"There was something wrong about the man. His eyes seemed hungry. For us of the emerald, I couldn't be certain. It pays to be careful."
"Careful? Some might call it paranoid."
"Enough! Stop mooning over each other, and let's grab the thing. I'm not spending another moment in this biting misery of a place longer than I have to."
Thor barked as he unslung a strange metallic device from his back. He tinkered with the smooth, shining brass shape before it suddenly popped open, taking on the form of a sleek metal otter that proceeded to utter a fond chirp and squeak at its master before slipping into the black waters without a ripple. Moments later, it appeared at the base of the shard of amber before climbing its uneven surface, its metallic claws making a tick-tick-tick-tick noise as it eagerly made its way towards the exposed claw. Dahlia had sidled up to Thor while the otter clambered on bone towards the emerald.
I would literally die for him.
Thor continued to gaze towards his creation at work with an expression as stony as the quarries of his mountain home, arms crossed, before uttering a soft grunt of agreement. At this point, the otter had reached the gem and had begun to work it free of the dragon's skeletal clutch. It was just about to pry the very last claw from the thing when a flash of verdant light burst forth from the emerald, throwing back Thor's otter to land with a splash into the waters of the swamp. The trio stood, weapons and spells at the ready, unsure of what was to come next when a booming voice seemed to fill the clearing.
Some silly little morsels come to thieve my one remaining treasure. Long has it been since the last to try, and I am in dire need of novel distraction.
The dragon's body had not moved an inch in its prison, but its eyes had now locked onto the party and begun to glow with an intense bright green, along with Den's. The ranger dropped to his knees, thrashing and screaming for all he was worth, trying to tear at his eyes and hair.
Den!
Cried Dahlia before she leapt into action, her hands aglow with healing magic as she tried to lay them on either side of Den's head before he slashed out with one of his daggers, cutting a ragged gash along the side of Dahlia's long arms. A look of stark betrayal was written on her face momentarily before she quickly shook her head and danced away out of the reach of Den's flashing blades. Den stood up straight and stiff as a marionette manipulated by strings held by undeft hands. With a dangerous smirk slashed across his face, the dragon's voice issued forth from his mouth.
This one feels useful. A killer. And someone of import to you both, it seems. You should be wanting him back, no doubt. Find a way to free me before you kill each other, and you will get back your friend.
The last word was spat out in vile mockery before Den's body began to dash towards Dahlia and Thor, blades held at the ready, and gleeful murder in his eyes. I hope that by now your beautiful DM minds are brimming with possibilities for this encounter. Who is that shady merchant? Why does he want that emerald? Is there a way to set this dragon free in order to save Den? Or perhaps there's a way to save him without letting this fell creature terrorize the land. You should never trust a green dragon, after all. Let your creativity run free. Chop, change, and edit this adventure to suit your needs. Or maybe it's inspired you to create a similar encounter of your own creation. Please drop all of your wonderful ideas down in the comments below so that I and other DMs can take inspiration from you. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. And remember, this world needs good DMs.